Now, as Barbenheimer, which led the fourth biggest box office weekend in history, Greta Gerwig's fantasy comedy Barbie has smashed expectations with a whopping $162 million to land the biggest debut of this year worldwide. In one of the biggest cinema experiences of the year, highly anticipated Oppenheimer and Barbie have finally hit the screens this weekend, and fans have refused to choose between the two releases. Already dubbed as blockbusters, the two very different categories of big screen entertainers are complementing each other in the box office. But Barbie is expected, in fact, it has been declared that Barbie has smashed box office records worldwide this weekend. It's become the largest seller of this year. Barbie, a pink fantasy comedy, has earned around $162 million. Meanwhile, Christopher Nolan's dark historical drama has collected $82 million globally. The double craze for the two mega releases have gifted Hollywood its biggest collective weekend at the box office since the pandemic. I'll also play out a report for you before I quickly go across to my guest.
The 1-2 punch of Barbie and Oppenheimer, collectively dubbed Barbenheimer, proved to be the box office knockout Hollywood was looking for. Barbie won the debut weekend battle with an estimated $155 million in the US and Canada.
So cool.
That ranked as the biggest opening of 2023, and the biggest of all time for a movie directed by a woman. That woman is Greta Gerwig, who helmed the brightly colored comedy about the iconic doll played by Margot Robbie. Barbie took in $337 million worldwide, helped by the doll's manufacturer, Mattel, which launched an all-out global marketing blitz.
How about because this is the most important thing to ever happen in the history of the world?
Oppenheimer, on the other hand, stands at the opposite end of the storytelling spectrum, as it tells a haunting tale about the making of the atomic bomb. The film, which stars Cillian Murphy as scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer, took in more than $80 million in the US and Canada, a strong start for a 3-hour adult drama. It earned $174 million globally. While Hollywood celebrated the busy weekend, the industry likely faces tougher times ahead. Strikes by actors and writers could delay future titles in a year in which many films have already fallen flat. Would-be summer blockbuster The Flash flopped, while new Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible films underwhelmed. Cinemas face a thinning slate of movies, with the next big action film, Dune Part 2, not due until November.
All right, Seth Schachner, who's the managing director of Strat Americas and is also a digital business executive, is joining me live. Thank you, Seth, for joining in. Now, studios have given audiences two uniquely different, smart and original stories, both meant for the big screen. What explains Barbie surpassing Oppenheimer in terms of collections?
Well, it's great to be here. I think they're two obviously very different pictures and storylines and audiences. And I think the combination of them has kind of cut through the clutter, if you will. And, to the point made earlier, there's a lot of pictures that just even Indiana Jones didn't get the collective attention and consciousness going. But I think in Barbie's case, it's hit a certain spot, they say, in the zeitgeist, if you will. It certainly captured something. I think there are a lot of people who are aware generally of what Barbie is as a brand, and we're aware that a movie was going to come out for it. I think if you really look at what some of the film going research is showing us, that's usually a big factor in generating awareness. And I think you're seeing people coming into the theaters for this specific picture for Barbie that haven't been in movie theaters for some time, that may have waited back since Top Gun, if you will. So it's collectively cut through. I think the clutter hit a certain spot in the zeitgeist, and it's something that people are familiar with in a big way. And it's a great story. She's a magnificently talented director. I've watched her since she was an independent film director. And so it's just a great overall storyline for that. I think Oppenheimer is obviously a different, much more serious crowd. There's probably some differences in terms of the gender in terms of maybe who's going to both of these a little bit. I mean, I think Barbie has been skewing a little bit more heavily on the female side of things in terms of the attendance. So, but it was always expected to be much bigger in terms of box office results, Barbie versus Oppenheimer.
And what is the kind of role that inescapable marketing campaign has played? Also, the kind of hype that was generated around Barbie here in India, in all the malls, you see this kind of marketing taking all, taking all the clothing brands by storm. Virtually every store has Barbie as a theme with customized items. How much credit would you give the marketing campaign to Barbie as far as
Yeah, I
Barbie?
think it's enormous. It's interesting to hear some of the traditional retail and just traditional film marketing, techniques and programs being mentioned. I think that's a big part of it. And there's certainly a big product blitz. This is Mattel, so this is a major consumer products company. But I point out social media as increasingly one of the very biggest factors in breaking a picture, whether that's TikTok or other social media. And the activities that are coming from that, just the virality, if you will, that I think is probably in its own way creating network effects for people going into the theaters, awareness translating into theater going. It's I think all those things combined with the retail, the social networking, just the general idea that people are aware of this, have kind of created a 1-2 punch to get people back into theaters. It's almost like it's an event where if you don't go to it, you have this sort of fear of missing out, if you will. So it's a
The
lot of
FOMO,
factors coming
the
together, and
FOMO as the new generation
maybe
will
you
call
won't
it.
see that going forward. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the FOMO factor as well. But when you look at what began as a meme, it was Barbenheimer. It has now become this huge phenomenon. What explains this full-fledged box office phenomenon called Barbenheimer? Is it also the jaded moviegoer, looking towards a fresh feel at theaters after the pandemic?
Yeah, I think that all those sort of formal factors I just mentioned, but I think there is something that rises a little bit above where it's almost an event, along the lines of I don't know if the Super Bowl is the best analogy, but something that people feel they need to be part of and don't want to miss out on. And the fact that there are two pictures, they're both very different. One's 3 hours, the other's 2 hours. One's kind of heavier, one's kind of lighter. I think people are taking it in different ways, whether it's 2 nights or taking breaks. And it is an event. And summer blockbusters used to be, a classic development, at least here in the U.S. market. I think we're seeing less of that, and this is something that I think everyone wants to go see. So it's kind of a networking effect, if you will.
Right, let's also have a word for the female filmmaker, Greta Gerwig. Barbie also scored the biggest opening weekend ever for a film directed by a woman. I know it's not new that we've seen female filmmakers in the past as well, but do you see that finally they have now arrived in Hollywood?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wonderful. Greta's a fantastically talented filmmaker. I've watched her, as I mentioned, with even earlier pictures like Frances Ha that have come up that were from the independent realm. I mentioned ones like Catherine Bigelow as well. So this is an important, great development, and you want to hope to see more of it, obviously, basically. So I only have good things to say on that, and hope to see more of that for sure.
All right, many thanks to you, Seth, for joining in. It's been a pleasure to have you on my show.
Great to be here. Thank you.
And as Seth and I were discussing, let's also leave you with how slick the marketing and promotional campaign from toy maker Mattel and movie studio Warner Brothers has been, and how it has helped the hotly anticipated Barbie movie, which opened to a record-breaking weekend at the box office with 162 million in ticket sales and counting. Here's a quick look.
Wherever you are in the world right now, chances are that, like Trafalgar Square in London this month, there's a corner of it near you that's pink. And that's likely thanks to a pop culture sensation from toy maker Mattel that's been 64 years in the making.
Hey, Barbie.
Not content with setting box office records for this year, Barbie is also rewriting the playbook for how to market a film.
Stop by.
So cool.
From a life-size dream house to a hot pink cafe, the brand has been everywhere in 2023. It's led to talk of something Mattel have called Barbie core, a world awash with pink. Mattel President and COO Richard Dixon.
Our color is obviously synonymous with a big movement right now, and there's not a category out there that we haven't carefully curated as an opportunity for everyone to play with Barbie.
Analysts have been rushing to praise Mattel's strategy around the film's release and its success at redefining themselves as more than just a toy brand. Brand strategist Moshe Isaacyan.
I think what they've done here is trying to make Barbie culturally relevant again, bring it to life, make it a piece that is just not about nostalgia, not about toys, but really a universe that you can really feel, touch, and feel a part of, right?
Isaacyan compiled all the Barbie brand collaborations, tie-ins and licensing deals he noticed leading up to the film's launch into a viral Twitter thread. Among the sparkly hot pink merchandise he listed, a gaming console, dog treats, shoes, homeware, frozen yogurt, hair accessories and roller skates. But while Barbie the toy has traditionally been aimed at young girls, the film and much of its marketing strategy has instead targeted adults. Mattel CEO Ynon Kreiz said this has been key.
It's timeless and timely at the same time. It is about a story that transcends generations and appeals to audiences all over the world.
I think Mattel is starting to be a little bit more free with themselves, like letting themselves go, kind of realizing that nowadays the humor has changed. People are a little bit more critical of like how brands act, and they've done actually a good job with it in the movie too.
Reports have put the Barbie marketing budget at $150 million. That's more than the $145 million it cost to make the film. The opening weekend at the US box office already generated $162 million in ticket sales. But Mattel are also expected to see soaring sales for Barbie dolls and other related products. Some have said such a comprehensive marketing campaign hasn't been seen in decades and could impact how marketing is taught in the future.
The strategy was this is Barbie's world and we're living in it, and they've done a really good job at it. And that's what just marketing is all about. It's just bringing stuff to life and making people aware of it.
Shares of Barbie doll maker Mattel got a lift on Monday following the record-setting opening weekend for the live-action movie starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. But Wall Street analysts and marketing experts said the party in pink will be short-lived. Mattel is set to report second quarter results on Wednesday, and analysts predict the boost for sales of the iconic doll, which have been in a year-long slump, will be most noticeable in the following quarter before tapering off. One analyst from UBS expects the movie's release to have an overall halo effect on the franchise, with the larger opportunity in consumer products as the film targets an older audience. Mattel will likely get a small cut of the movie's box office earnings, but the biggest benefit is expected to come from toy sales following the marketing blitz around the movie's release. However, a marketing professor at the University of South Florida said the hype around the Barbification of the world will soon subside. An analyst at CFRA Research said the fact that the Barbie movie isn't geared towards young children could mean it may not generate a significant boost to toy sales. For the second quarter, Mattel is set to report falling sales and a net loss compared with a profit a year ago, as the company continues to reel from higher costs, slowing consumer spending amid high inflation, and retailers cutting back on inventories. Still, shares of Mattel have gained about 19% so far this year.